Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta look up the footprint of your farm, of where you used to live, to get an idea of where it was again.
It was what was the name of that farm before? Well, it'll come to me before you leave.
Sure.
Well, the railroad tracks are right there too. Do you
Oh,
remember
the
trains?
railroad tracks are halfway there.
Yeah. And you those railroad tracks those were those always there even when you were young, or did they go in at some point?
Went in at some point.
I think 46.
I was still small.
Yeah. Or even before the 38. I think it was 1938
when the tracks went in.
When the tracks were put in through there,
right alongside Jago's house.
Yeah, you're right. Oh my goodness.
Because that's
How I think that the duplex farm is still there. There was another Jago. Well, there's a Jago family farm by the tracks too.
Right by the tracks, and
Jago,
I remember we woke up to the bright light of their house, their barn burning down.
Oh my goodness! Right. At the Jago farm. When that
it just like lit up, because there was nothing between our house in there, pretty much. It was so our bedroom window just lit up with light when that burned. It was scary because you couldn't tell. You felt like it was.
I thought the house next door was on fire.
Well, there was no house next door at that point. And what we were concerned about, we had a goat back then who wandered the field right there. Remember? And we thought Duke was going to burn.
Oh, yeah.
And we come to find out it was that further down the road. It was just so bright, you couldn't tell where it was.
Yeah, Dookie. I got to tell you a story about Dookie.
Oh, yeah.
He was chained on an outdoor house. He had a house built. Dad built a house for
like
him.
a really big dog house.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
And so he stayed out there, and he was content. And we fed him and everything. And he always watched the kids get on the bus. So he knew how to do it. So one day, I'm looking out the window, and I see the kids get on the bus. And pretty soon there was something else. What is it? There's a tail getting on that bus.
He broke loose and got on the school bus.
Really?
When you try to remove a goat from a bus, that's hard to do because a goat doesn't go where he doesn't want to go.
Right.
So they had to get the mailman to help the bus driver get the goat off the bus.
That's something for you to see in the story. A mailman had
Or you're from the town of Wheatfield or something like that. When that happens.
And when it's your goat, it's really right.
Oh, it was you might remember Alan Devontier.
Oh, I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, there was an article.
If I wouldn't have put up a fuss, I would be married to Alan Devontier. That's how.
All right, so let's hear his story about Alan Devontier.
I do remember him
That's
too.
how close I knew him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I do remember him too. The nasally voice, he would point out all sorts of things going on about the town. Well, there was a wonderful article in 1994 or 95. It was in the Gazette, I believe, and it had to do with one of his cows giving birth to triplets, triplet calves. And so I have this article with him standing there with all this whole family at the end of my presentation of the town of Wheatfield thing that I put out there as a kind of uplift, and it says, you're from a country town when this is the story in the paper. There's birth of triplets.
Big news, right?
Right. It was just funny. He just stands there with his colleague.
It's like he thought, like he was the father.
Exactly.
Proud family of 3.
You know how it happened, Oh goodness. Anything that as we close for now at least, anything that you learned over the years that really stuck in your mind that you think people should recall today and keep in mind? Life lessons.
Well, I know when I had my appendix out.
Well, that was an interesting answer.
I had my appendix out when I was 6 years old. I
But
was on my way to school, and I was crying, and all at once my dad says, "We're not going to school, we're going to the doctor."
Oh my God.
Dr. Peart, one family doctor. Oh my gosh. And
Good
he
point.
smoked a cigar or a cigarette, whatever. Never put it down. And he's examining me, and his ashes are falling. I thought, how can that be sanitary? His ashes are falling down in my boot.
So, so let's get back to his question, Mom.
What was the question?
The question was, is there a life lesson that you would like to teach, have other people know? So like, for like, like how to, a good living, a good, something to do that you would like to teach other people how to live life.
Well, I'll tell you, honor your father and your mother. And I don't mean that jokingly. And my mother got me a job. I mean, I'm still at home. My mother got me a job picking cherries. So we picked up a whole basket of cherries, and then we had to leave them there, and we had to go to the next tree and pick those cherries, pick up another tree. And that's how I learned to honor my mama.
Working.
Good work ethic, right?
Yeah.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah. You just, sometimes the work was hard, I would think, huh?
Oh, it wasn't easy. It was not easy. But I got muscles from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
There's lessons to be learned in hard things sometimes, isn't there?
And they didn't have, of course, a lot of distractions back then, like a lot
Right,
of
right.
these. We're using. If you're using them as tools, as we're doing now for this, that's one thing. But I do think there might be too many distractions
Yeah,
today,
I think so.
right? You
I
think?
think so.
And that kids should get outside more, for example, like
Oh,
as
yeah.
you did.
They're sitting in front of the TV too much.
I love being outside. So yeah, either or. Of course, we had better programming on in the '90s, anyways. But for people my age, I would say.
You missed out on Captain Kangaroo, so you don't know anything.
That's true. No, that's true.
That was a really good program.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, Captain Kangaroo, you don't want to miss that.
No.
Oh,
With the Canadian stations too, that had the Friendly Giant. I think it was.
We couldn't get
Shayla.
we couldn't get the Canadian.
You couldn't.
I remember Mr. Dress Up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. When did you? Bonus question. I want to say about entertainment. When you did have a TV, when did you first get a TV, and what were some of your favorite shows?
Our first TV was a black and white, little one about like that, and we all used to spread out in the living room floor, lay down in front of it, and watch whatever program was on. We could only watch so many programs.
Right.
But you listened to a lot of radio, though, too. You grew up enjoying radio shows, right? What was your favorite radio show that you liked listening to? There was like, what was there, like Orphan Annie, and there was
when we were eating supper, they should never have programs on when kids are eating supper. But anyway, I was eating supper, and my favorite program came on, and they used to give numbers, so many numbers, and then you had to record them after and figure out what that sign.
Oh, because you had I have your old radio Orphan Annie decoder pin.
That's right, and you better.
And you would have to set it,
Well,
just like on that show, The Christmas Story.
That's worth
Exactly.
a
I was
lot
just
of
gonna
money.
say, it's going through my head.
It is the identical one. I have that one that he used.
The little circular thing.
You line it up, and so you would get the code, right? And then you have to decode it.
Then I write down the code, and then I get off, and I see what the numbers were, what they rang out, what they spelled out.
Eat your Ovaltine.
Yeah, right. Drink your own thing.
All right.
Yeah, well,
Did you watch any shows, TV shows?
Like you did you have a TV? You didn't have a TV as a
No, we just watched Orphan Annie and
listen to it, yeah.
Jack. What's Jack?
Hop Along Cassidy or whatever, things like that or whatever.
Somebody. Yeah.
Jack Benny?
Jack Benny?
Yeah, we could watch him.
Mm-hmm.
you
And
remember?
we were in bed already when he came on. And Ma let us get up to watch Jack Benny's funny. She always had a funny program in the beginning. And she would let us get up to watch him.
You remember people like Red Skelton or Sid Caesar or
Red Skelton, I remember.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shows like Perry Mason. That's a big one for me.
That was too deep for us.
Yeah, sure, okay.
I would say, well, why is he killing him?
How about Carol Burnett?
That's a little later.
Yeah, that was later.
That was later.
I Love Lucy. Yeah.
Yeah, I Love Lucy was a little later too, but I liked her.
Really, yeah. Yeah, and Betty White, when she was around.
Mm-hmm.
She was.
Well, that was later, but I liked her.
Mm-hmm. And what would you remember World War II?
What?
Do you remember World War II and Vietnam? By the way,
My brothers went to the war.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Just tell us, by the way, about how things were like for you in World War II, for example, in the area.
You want me to tell you when I cry? We were coming out of church and they had declared war. And we were standing there in church and they came down and they arrested my brothers. They said, "You're going to war."
Not arrested, but they drafted.
But they.
Well, they arrested them. They drafted them.
Yeah.
But I figured they arrested them. I didn't know what the difference was.
Sure.
I was 6 years old.
And how did everybody feel around you? How did everybody react?
Well, they felt sorry for me because I was going to be alone.
And there were probably other people in town also drafted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did they serve and come back, or
They all came back.
thankfully?
Some of them were wounded, but
Mm.
they all came. My brother Clarence came back, but he was not healthy when he came back. He had a breathing problem.
And you recall the Korean War period as well, and some people served from Korea in the area. That's all.
Yeah, I don't remember that as much.
Do you recall when Sputnik was launched, or when man landed on the moon? What did your family think about?
When Sputnik was launched,
Yeah, when Sputnik was going overhead and all that.
we went over and how did we get there? On a boat. We went over to the island, the St. James Church. It's at the church, and we all stood there on the corner and watched the Sputnik take off.
Or fly overhead.
And in the orbit, yeah. Wow.
So I remember it, but
Were you guys thinking was it a scary thing to see something fly overhead in the sky, that high in the sky?
yeah, we haven't had anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about what your parents or grandparents would have thought if they'd seen that?
Yeah, I can imagine.
It was incredible. And when we land on the moon for the first time, what were your impressions of that?
Well, I couldn't figure out how they could do that, because to me the moon was a round bar that burned all the time. And how could they land on something like that?
Yeah.
So that's how much we learned.
Wow. And so up to that point, the moon was just the moon.
Yeah.
But now it had an even more direct connection to us. It was like a place to go now.
Mhm.
Not just a place in the sky, but a place to go
Mm-hmm.
to potentially. That must have been something to think about. And of course, Watergate. Why not?
Oh, geez. Yeah.
No, never mind.
What about when JFK was?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
What about when JFK was killed? What is your memory of that one?
What?
When John F. Kennedy was killed.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh. I was cleaning the kitchen cupboard. And when I heard, I had the radio on when they announced that, I had to stop. My water stayed there and I didn't finish cleaning the cupboard. I sat down and I just cried. And oh, we loved John F. I cried, I think, for 2 days.
That was a sad
How
time.
could anybody do anything like that?
Mhm.
We just never heard of anything like that.
Mm.
Do you remember living during the Depression?
Not too much, except that we couldn't eat what we wanted to eat.
Mhm.
You lived on a farm, so you had enough substances.
Yeah, but I had to help my mama can everything. Everything had to be canned
Mhm.
because we couldn't go out to the farm and pick everything.
Mhm. You canned for many years after that too.
Yeah,
For many years. Even,
I still got the can.
yeah, as kids, we would. I remember always go out to the white cupboard in the garage and get a thing of corn or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Most everything stayed fresh.
Mm-hmm.
The corn would last 2 years, and after that we had to throw it out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Corn didn't last as long as the peaches and stuff did.
Mm-hmm.
And canning, my mother loves to can. We can when we can. Can when we can.
Oh, I get it.
And, we like going to the North Tonawanda Farmers Market and picking it because it's a big money saver anyways. And the people are, it for me, it brings us closer to what farming would have been like, what shopping would have been like back then before there were supermarkets. Do you remember Loblaws?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Right down the
we
way.
had a Loblaws in our backyard.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you cut through the woods, you'd show up at Loblaws.
Yeah, really, right over there. Okay, so that gives me another sense of place.
Yeah, we literally cut through the woods and pop out there.
Do you remember going there in the winter with a sled?
No, not really. No, not.
Maybe that was your older.
Nah. I know Lonnie and Pat would go there. They used to do sock hops over there or something.
Oh yeah.
Or in the parking lot or something.
Yeah, all summer they hired a band, or the town must have hired the band.
I don't know.
And then they'd go out there dancing.
Mm.
They'd come home and they were still dancing.
Mm.
That's another thing too. They used to have socials back in the day.
Yeah.
Did you go to certain socials with your church groups?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
fire
Fire
company?
company.
Yeah. You remember some of them? How was it? What was it like to attend those?
Well, I was a young kid and I didn't do many of them. I used to go on hay rides.
Oh, cool.
The farmer would, Alan Devonter, would fill up his his wagon with hay, and we would jump in there, and wherever we landed, we had to stay.
Stay and party, do some parties. Were you when you got there? Was there a party?
Well, it was a party. It was not like they have now. We had one in the door. We got one drink, and the drink was like water or ginger ale, whichever you wanted. And but we thought it was a party, so
Nice.
we were happy.
Well, thank you again for having me today. I do appreciate
Well, if you want to
this.
come back sometime, if I think of anything else, I'll make notes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I enjoy the photos in this room here, especially the one above the bed there. That's your family?
That's our whole family.
Mm-hmm.
From how long ago, Roy?
81.
81.
Yeah, say 81.
That was my beginning of my
Yeah.
family.
Oh.
So Dad, in that picture,
Oh,
our
nice.
dad, you might be able to tell from the picture, he had a stroke, so part of his face was a little droopy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, a little droopy
Right.
there.
On the
So,
side
yeah.
area.
So it's like Lonnie's my oldest sister, and then Pat, and then Deb. Then there was like Mom was saying, there was a 10-year separation, and then there was Debbie, and then myself. So I'm the youngest. I was born in '59.
Upstanding in that suit, by the way. Fantastic. And so forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the picture down here. And then we have this one over here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there we got some high school pictures, I think, maybe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And your husband, he wasn't the Iceman himself, right? He was.
No, his brother.
He was the helper. Yeah, he was the helper that shooed the kids away from the wagon.
And your future husband would be one of the ones who wanted to eat the chips with you. Yeah. And that's how you met.
This is a picture of her mom and dad,
Yeah.
the farmers.
Oh, wow.
Can you get it?
So John
Yeah, I think.
John Anthony Albert Heuer,
And Esther Ella.
Esther Ella
Lydia.
Mueller, and
Esther Ella Lydia Mueller.
then she became Heuer.
That's your dad, the fire chief.
He was the fire chief eventually. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a
Isn't
fire
that a
chief.
great photo?
It's a beautiful one, yeah.
I love that one.
One of my older friends would recognize the car behind him, too, I'm sure.
Oh, that was my first car.
Do you remember?
Was that your car back there?
Was it your car? No.
I don't think that was your car.
Oh.
That was probably Grandpa's car. Grandpa's pretty young in that picture.
I guess it was his.
Yeah.
Must have been his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I got my car, oh man, the whole neighborhood came over to touch it. They wanted to touch my car.
What kind of car did you drive? What was your first car?
I had a Buick. I started out with a Buick. I should have started out with a Ford, but I got a Buick.
First car I remember you owning, when I was little, was a Rambler.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And Dad had a truck. Dad always had a truck.
Well,
Being a construction worker,
yeah.
you carry your tools.
Oh, very good.
When
Thank you.
when they built, the St. Peter's Church down in Lewiston, he was part of the construction.
So that's her
Oh,
wedding
really?
photo.
Ah, there we go. Yeah. Nice. Oh, that's a beautiful couple. Really, very, really.
Was that my mom and dad?
No, this is you. Wedding photo.
Oh,
Thank you.